मैं सैड होता हूँ तो मम्मा के साथ शेयर करता हूँ सारी चीज़ें reading or I would look at my soft toys.
I pray for them and I believe that they'll get better soon.
And I like to draw. Sometimes I love.
I do art.
I read storybooks.
May I request everybody to settle down? It's time for our next session. First edition, a book launch, Odissi and the Geeta Govinda. Ileana Citaristi in conversation with Arshiya Sethi. Odissi and Geeta Govinda attempts to trace an overview of the different components which define the cultural landscape of the state of Odisha in relation to its history, religious cults, art, and literature, and to link the development of the various aspects to the role played along the centuries by Geeta Govinda poem in its different manifestations. From being an important component of the rituals performed in the Jagannath temple to becoming an essential part of the people's daily life and artistic expressions, this immortal poem has exercised its influence on the cultural scenario of the state from its early inception in the 12th century until the present times. Odissi and Chhau dancer, guru and choreographer, Ileana Citaristi, in conversation with Arshiya Sethi. She will also launch the book. Dr. Ileana Citaristi is an Italian-born Odissi and Chhau dancer, guru and choreographer based in Bhubaneshwar. She was conferred with the Padma Shri by the President of India in 2006 for her contribution to the Odissi dance. She has also choreographed for M.F. Hussein's Meenakshi, Tale of Three Cities, and Gautam Ghosh's Abhar Aranya. She is the author of 4 books, and this is her present book. She is imparting training in Odissi and Chhau dance in her own institution, Art Vision, in Bhubaneshwar, founded by her. Arshiya Sethi. Arshiya Sethi, Artwise and a Fulbright Fellow, is an independent scholar who established and currently manages the Cree Foundation. Formerly a dance critic for the Times of India and presenter for 4 decades of a featured music and dance program on Doordarshan, she rose to advise its DD Bharati channel. Her new area of work include Indian dance globally, and in its intersection with the law, for which she was instrumental in creating unmute.help as one-point reference window on the rights and responsibilities of the artists and art leaders. Over to you, Arshiya.
Thank you very much. I think there is a format that we follow, which is first we release the book and then we do the conversation. And I would like to stick to this format only because talking to my wonderful friend who has been introduced to you in such a wonderful manner, whereas I know her a little more as a bit of a bindas, badass babe as well. So we are going to do the book first. So we stay within the parameters that we've set out for today. The book is called Odissi and the Geeta Govinda. And Ileana wants me to let you know that this is actually been written during the COVID period, although the research for it has been a lifelong project. And I'll tell you how. So first the book. So congratulations, Ileana. This is one of the books that she's written during COVID times. She's written another one, which is also available at the bookshop. Apart from that, her autobiography, which is what makes me call her the bindas and badass babe. And then there is the book, which is a path-breaking book on her guru, Guru Kelucharan Mohapatra, that she has written. So I have never met any other dancer who's as prolific as you in creating works of dance and in writing your life and what you dance in books. So tell me, what is it that keeps you ticking at this pace?
Thank you, Arshiya, and hello to everybody. I'm very excited to be here and to be part of the Jaipur Literature Festival. It's my first time as an author, actually, although I have written other books before, but yeah, this is the fruit of 42 years of staying in Orissa, and to have received so much love from the people of Orissa. And I feel like that this small contribution that I can give back. Living in Orissa meant from the very beginning to experience a correlation and interrelation between all the aspects of the cultural life. So when I started to learn Odissi, which was of course physical movement, I couldn't just remain there and learn a gesture or a step or a song without understanding the layers which were behind it. And being a philosophy student, and actually when I came, I was already an adult and I was already had a PhD in philosophy and with a thesis on psychoanalysis and Eastern mythology. So for me, the symbols, their meaning, the layers behind the philosophy was very important. And I had to question continuously to my guru, why this? What does it mean? And so something that maybe the other Oriya girl who are learning with me, they were not questioning so much, but I had to understand intellectually also, more physically and intellectually. So they help the books to understand the Vaishnavism, the Vaishnava philosophy, the symbology of the Geeta Govinda, Radha, Krishna, which we were dealing with in dance, has been determinant, especially in the first years. And then of my training. And then I realized, of course, that the practical aspect and the performance, the training, the teaching, choreographing took a little bit the upper hand. So during this COVID, and there is this lockdown, when I was constraining the house, and I took out all my books which were belonging to my beginning. And I realized that they were all underlined by me at that time. But in the course of time, 40 years are half of a lifetime. So I had a little bit distanced myself from the theoretic part. And I thought that actually the tendency of today students of dance also is to concentrate a lot on the practical part, on the physical part of the dance. And so I thought that to compile a book in which the context in which this dance form derived and the correlation, interrelation with all the cultural aspect of Odisha, it would be helpful for them also. So this is how this book came through.
So she will be dancing and showing a part of the practice that she talked about. But there are so many layers one deals with when you're getting into a culture. We tend to take things for granted. So every time I talk to Ileana, I come away richer on what, we should be doing as step 1, step 2, step 3. And I'm so happy to see that there are some dancers and many dance lovers present here. So it's going to be an interesting aspect for them to see how it happened. But really the first question I want to ask you, or let's say the next question I want to ask you, has nothing to do with the book per se, or maybe it does, but some years ago, those of you who've been following the news may remember that Ileana was in the news during the Rath Yatra festival. Okay, there was a big thing which made it to international newspapers, including to her hometown's local newspaper, which was, her hometown is Bergamo in Italy. And I'd like you to tell us just a little bit about what it was, because all of us looked and said, oh my God, Ileana is going to get into trouble. She will lose her position in Odisha's dance scene because of this. But she came through much stronger.
Well, now, if nobody has heard about it now, don't imagine catastrophic things. It's just an episode which it happened in 2013 in July, when at the end of the Rath Yatra, which is the major ritual related to Lord Jagannath, which is a cohesive point in Orissa. You can't do anything, you can't talk about anything of Orissa if you don't start from Jagannath and end with Lord Jagannath. So, so it was a Sunday morning, and the chariots of the Rath Yatra had just returned from in their return journey from the Gundicha temple, where they had spent 7 days. So, so they would be the idol, the gods would have been brought inside the temple the next day. So it was a pause, which was the Lord was resting a little bit outside the temple. So that morning I decided suddenly to take up my car and go, because the Lord comes outside the temple for us, because we cannot go inside. So it is actually, usually we can go and see from the terrace all the crowd which pull their chariots and maybe try to pull the rope also. But to go near him it was an occasion, I don't know, I got inspired to go, and it was there on the chariot, just maybe waiting. And so when I went, I just do the queue. It was not many people. I just did the queue with like other people, and there is a small narrow staircase to go up to the chariot. And I was surrounded by all other Oriya people. And when I went up, there was a panda, one of the priests, which was there near the Lord. And when he saw me, he sort of make way for me to come near and to have the darsana and to try to touch it. And then he asked me for 1,000 rupees, just like this. And when I didn't even look at him, he realized that he was not going to get anything out of me. So he started suddenly to say, hey, America, 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 America. So the people got all scared. There was a commotion on the top of the chariot. And it is a narrow space with all the people who are pressing me from behind to go near to the, and the other panda also, which was there, replied also, America, America. And so I just had the opportunity to touch and to do my pranam. And so I thought it was better to go down from the other side and to move out of there because commotion was starting. So when I reached down, I realized why this fell. Oh no, sorry. Apart from saying America, America, he also pushed me back with his hands, and he tried to. I was going to fall almost. I mean, very violently, and he was also very very well built panda, old but well built. So when I went down, I said, I started to talk about myself, and I said, what right this person had to touch me like this and to push me back, to pull me back and all this thing. And somebody suggested, why don't you do a complaint? So it was Sunday morning. I said, nothing will happen. I complained, the office will be closed. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. And I did this complaint, and somehow within half an hour, I had all the media behind me and all the channels and all the things. So the things became a very huge news, which was flashed. The Padma Shri awardee, which was molested on the chariot of Lord Jagannath and all this thing, which also my brother in Italy rang me back the next day. What happened to you? I said, how did the news reach there? And the whole things is that for the 1 week, I got so many messages of solidarity from the people who all were with me and say, how that fellow dare to do this to you. And this panda, and many people who are also telling similar stories, that panda who tried to extort money and all these things. And so the result of all this was that apart that, as she said, it could have become something else, but actually it was I received a lot of messages of solidarity and affection and support, and say, we are sorry that this happened. So again, more love and affection from the people. And then the government took a decision from that time onward that no more people will go up to the chariot. And some new regulation came up, and some regulation regarding the behavior of the panda also. So it was seeming as if I was an instrument, a sort of, to provoke some changes which were required. And maybe Jagannath took this opportunity through me to
Ileana's dedication to Jagannath is legendary. I mean, every year, Rath Yatra, she's christening with a strange devotion, a determination to offer something at his feet. And I take this book actually as a reference point of her new offering to Lord Jagannath, because truly the Geeta Govinda, which is the central thread that she pulls through this book, has an impact on every aspect of the Odissan Vaishnav mind. You find not just this tremendous architectural, splendorous temple, you find a whole complex of rituals that are part of it, a whole complex of rituals that were once performed by the Maharis, the female sebakas, you know, the fixed categories of servitors to Lord Jagannath. It's there in fabric. You see the Geet Govind woven into fabric. You see the wonderful patchitras built around the Geet Govind. So it's all around you. Somebody had to put it into a book or much of it in the same place. So since I have referred to the Maharis, who were the servitors, dedicated specialists, you were very close to one Mahari. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, Mahari is the term with which we refer to the Devadasi or the temple dancers in Orissa. And yeah, I was in the beginning of my staying. I reached Orissa in '79. So that was my first research on the Mahari. But it was a research which was nice because it was not a book research, but I was sort of adopted by one of them. At that time, still 3 or 4 were alive. And Arapriya Devi, one of them, which her name was also Dunguriappa, took me under. She saw actually one of my dance in television of one song, Brajoku Choro Asichi, which is a very beautiful lullaby, which the mother Jasoda tell to the Krishna, but can be the mother with the child.
Speak loudly.
And that is one song which the Mahari used is one of the Mahari songs which they used to enact and dance and sing on the boat in the Chandan Jatra. So she saw this dance in television, and she when I went to her to start to interact with her, she immediately liked me very much because of that image that she had. So I was in the beginning, but I already had learned Oriya. So I could converse in Oriya with her without need of any interpreter. So it was very close and unofficial type of interrelation that we had. And she described me very particularly and very in detail all the rituals which she remembered in her time, because actually the rituals in the temple has been changing along the century. So much historical upheavals happen because of invasions. And so what we know of the rituals are the one which the Mahari, which were still alive in the beginning of the last century, in the middle of the last century, could tell us. So through her, I could also visualize what was the temple, this incredible structure inside, which is the life soul of the people over there. And so I could close my eyes and see all the location, all the different small temples which are there apart from the major one. And so I didn't ask her much about the dance, but I was more interested about the rituals, and she told me all of them. So for me, it was like another guru. I had the opportunity, of course, the luck, the way I was fortunate to have approached in dance the best of the guru, Padma Vibhushana Kelucharan Mohapatra from the very beginning, whose interpretation of the Geeta Govinda has become legendary in his lifetime. And on the other side, I have this beautiful guidance of Dunguriappa, who was really taking me by hand and accompanying me in this journey of the rituals of the temple.
You recognize the irony of what she's saying. She's not allowed to go into the temple because she's a foreigner. So she's always watching it through somebody else's eyes, which is why that moment on the Rath was so important for her, because it was as if the Lord had come outside and that one moment was available for her. But life is about ironies. And, you know, you may have read about supposedly the last Mahari, Shashimani, who passed away quite recently, about 2-3 years ago. She made it to the New York Times. And as she was in her last days, Ileana went to pay tribute to her. And that was such a memorable, sad moment. Here she was, this exemplar of knowledge. And then Ileana will describe what she saw.
With Shashimani also had a nice experience. I don't know if there's actually when Dunguriappa passed away, and Kokila Priya also, the other Devadasi, Kokila was the last Devadasi who was singing the Geeta Govinda inside the temple at the time of the Sringarabesa of the Lord in the evening before he goes to sleep, when all ornamentation are put. So that is the time in which the Geeta Govinda, from the time of the 15th century, has been ordered by the king Prataparudra Deva in an inscription which is still there on the side of the north door of the temple, in which it says that only Geeta Govinda should be sang and danced at the time of Sringarabesa of the Lord. So from that time, the rituals went on. And Kokila was the last Mahari who, after her, because only the Mahari who were belonging to the inner category, Bittere Gahani they are called, could go on the, not inside the Sanctum Sanctorum, but on the doorstep of the Sanctum Sanctorum. So the other, they were dancing in the morning, do the Sakala Dhupa. They were not allowed to go so near to the Lord. So the Bittere Gahani only could go. And Kokila was one belonging to that. So after her death, nobody could continue to sing the Geeta Govinda. And so after the death of both of them, I received an invitation from Chidambaram temple, from the temple authority over there, to go for a seminar on Devadasi and possibly to bring one of the Orissa Devadasi with me. So I went and discovered that Shashimani was still alive. She was also doing a Sheva for not inside the temple, but she was doing a Sheva still during that time for the Lord. So I took her, and the widow with her, she was staying. And for the first time, these two women, they got out of Puri and got into a train. And I had to, not only to bring them to Chennai, but also to make the change the station over there to go to Chidambaram, and all in a hurry because the train was late. And so it was a big, because they were slow in moving, they were totally disoriented, they didn't know what was happening to them. But when we reached there, and Shashimani started to take out her red lal sari and put kajal in her eyes and big bindi here, and demonstrated during my talk on them. She started to revival for her. And not only in the evening, during the evening program, they asked her to go on stage and to demonstrate something. So it was like a flower, it was blooming. And at the end of the program, the Bharatanatyam dancer who were there, they went to touch her feet. And I remember that there was a secretary of culture or something who went and pinned some money on her blouse, maybe 100 rupees, 500, I don't remember. And this lady, it was second life for her. She came to that place, she was totally so shy and disoriented, and she went back from there during the return journey. She never removed her kajal and her bindi and her sari. She was so excited. It was like a second life that came back to her. So I was, it was a nice experience. But we started saying that, after that, other dancers also approached her. But at the end of her life, when the newspaper highlighted the fact that the last Devadasi died and all these things, I went there a few days before to her place, to her tiny house, a room where she was staying. She was lying on the floor, a very small things on the floor. And I was thinking, see, this is the reality. And New York Times, people will be reading that the last Devadasi died, and what God knows what they imagine about her. And this is the reality.
So the interesting thing about the Geeta Govinda is that while it is the heart and soul of Odisha's cultural life, it also has a footprint, a more expansive footprint in India. Talk a little bit about that.
See, the thing is that the fact that it was stipulated from the very beginning, we know from the Madala Panji, the chronicle of the temple, that Narasimha Deva, as soon as Jayadeva composed this poem, after a few years, it was being sang inside the temple. And then he got the last order, the specific order in 1499, 1499. So it became, when the pilgrims and the saints from all over India were going to the Jagannath temple, because Jagannath temple had become a very pilgrimage place, center. And so from all over India, from the east, from the south, saint, scholars, pilgrims, they were coming. So they were listening to this song, and they were also most probably, we don't know, we don't have proof that how, if it was danced or sang, but I deduce that it was also danced from many many factors. One, it is, for example, that Padmavati, which again the more legendary or less legendary wife of Jayadev, is always thought about as a dancer, and Jayadeva as a singer who sings and she dances and she inspires him to compose the Jayadeva, the Geeta Govinda. So all these pilgrims and saints that they were listening to this song in the temple, they went back to their places, to their regions, and they brought back these poems with them. So I think it has been the fact that it was there in the temple, and it was so much a part of the ritual of the temple, which generated this expansion of the poem.
So my next question to you is actually, if everybody today, all the Odissi dancers, and there are hundreds and thousands of them, believe me, it is one of those dances that has the largest footprint in the world. All of them, no performance of Odissi dance is complete without a Jayadev Ashtapadi. So if all of them are dancing that, what is the uniqueness you can bring? Do you bring some creativity to it, or is it just standard learning that happens created by gurus of yore?
Well, I personally say, yeah, all the styles of dance nowadays, they revive the style of dance, which are all product of the revival of the last century, are portraying one Ashtapadi of the Geeta Govinda during their performance. But Odissi, I think, is maybe because of the lyrical quality and of the style, of the spiritual connection with the poem, and also the fact that Jayadeva actually composed this in Orissa for Lord Jagannath. So the closeness of the culture of Orissa to this poem. So maybe it is it's just almost synonymous, Odissi and Geeta Govinda. Actually, everybody would expect in an Odissi performance that one Ashtapadi would be sang, will be performed. So yeah, the fact that there are many compositions on the same Ashtapadi, how what is differing between one and the other. See, the poetry in itself is always suggestive, and each word of a poetry has so many interpretations, so many meaning. So the lyric of Jayadeva is outstanding. Is apart from the spiritual quality, the erotic quality, the literal quality, the Sanskrit itself, it's so rich. And so it inspires, it gives if you read in between the lines, it gives you the scope to expand whatever the poet is suggesting. So, for example, I'll give you an example. So, let's take the one Ashtapadi in which Yahi Madhava Yahi Kesava Mahabada Kaitaba Vadan. So in her feverish imagination, Radha has been waiting for Krishna the entire night. He has seen him with the other girls in the very beginning of the poem. That is how the poem is starting. And in the early morning, final Krishna comes, and she sees marks on his body, which are telling that he has spent the night with another woman. So she says, see what there is a black spot on your lips, or there are marks on your chest, and go away. Don't tell your lies to me. I know where you have been. You go back to that lady. She will ease your despair. She will satisfy you again. Why you have come to me? Don't tell lies to me. But which lies? the poem is not mentioning, the Krishna's reply is not there. So there is the creativity of the choreographer. So what is Krishna's reply? So, and there we have again to refer to the, we can refer to the literature of Oriya poets, which have from Jayadeva onward wrote a lot of songs, a lot of poems, a lot of Raslila related to the Radha Krishna theme. And we know that, for example, some of the questions, some of the answers are, oh, this one, no, I went to choose blueberries and why the juice remain on my, and then there is some blood. Oh, no, I was teaching a song to the parrots. And the parrots were excited. He exchanged my lips for a fruit and he bited me. And what about this scratch on your body? Oh, this one, no, I went for your ear. I was searching for a certain flower. This flower was there in the among the thorns. So while collecting the flowers, the thorns I scratched my body. So this is not there in the Jayadeva poem, but in the dance. But again, we have to amplify, not going outside the basic sthai bhava of the song. So it should not become a comic, because the bhava is Karuna Rasa is a Kandita Naika is she's feeling
Okay, I
terribly.
have an idea. I think you should demonstrate something now.
Okay, so I will take another example and maybe a little bit explain to you before demonstrating another song, another prabandha. Saki he ke simatana mudaram. I like this song because here Radha is talking with her friend, and like any other friends, they would talk to each other, and she says, you know, when I went the first time to meet him, what happened? So just two girls, and the song, the line is telling Nibruta Nikunja Gruham Gata Yanisi. So in the silently in the night, I went out of my house in the forest to meet him. So this is literally translation. So how to expand this? Silently in night. So it is a secret meeting. Nobody should know. It is night. It is dark. Forest. So these are the hints. So the hints means then you can expand, because the girl says, you know, I tried to go, I was going out of the house and suddenly I realized that my mother-in-law and my father-in-law were there. So how to get out? So I have to remove my gungur because it will noise, switch off the lamp. And then finally I realized that they are sleeping, so I could get out. But then first I had to choose a sari also, which would not be too bright, because otherwise in the night they will see me. And then while going, I saw somebody coming, so I had to hide myself in the back. So all this she's imagining. There is nothing written in the sloka. So, but the fact that it is supposed to be secret, it is. Then at a certain point she says, you know, I saw one shadow and I thought it was a snake. And then my sari got tangled in the thorns. All these things, and my some thorn also in my foot, because it is a she couldn't take the lamp. She couldn't. It is dark. So all these things are suggested by the line. So this is where the creativity of the different choreographers and different composers can come in. Yeah. So I will show you a little bit only this portion of Sakhihe, in which this Sanchari, we call it Sanchari Bhava. It is the expansion of the Sthai Bhava. Sthai Bhava is the Sringara, and this is the Sanchari, which is derived by the context of the song.
Yeah, we will need the music now. Sakhihe. Actually, after a performance, there should be a bit of silence to absorb it. But we have just a few minutes left with Ileana, and so I would like to open it to questions in case anybody wants to ask about the process by which this beautiful kavya, which has been called like an epilet, you know, this long poem, which has 24 cantos to it, and it is erotic and sensual and spiritual all at the same time. It is written in Sanskrit and written at a time when the start of the vernacular millennium was to happen. It is written with its ragas and musicality intact, not just in the identification of the raga and the tala that goes with each of the Ashtapadi, but also within the poems with repetitions and little musical sounds in it. You get musicality. And I'm sure you noticed as when you structure the piece for dance, you use your music to convey a lot of the mood as well.
It's a musical, it's a prabandha, actually a song which has to be sang, music and dance. So Jayadeva wrote this for dance, so that is unquestionable. The musicality which is there in the Sanskrit, in the alliteration, in the rhymes, in the flow of the language. Even if you don't understand Sanskrit, just to hear it, it gives you it has a music on its own.
And in the revival process that you talked about, Ileana, it is true how every form today, every classical dance form has adopted Geet Govind, with the exception of one, in a way, that is Satriya from Assam. And yet, in their Ras Leela, they have elements of the Geet Govind, very much like the Geet Govind, which brings me to one question that I've been wanting to ask you. Talk a little bit about the Odia poetry that emerged, which sounds a little bit like Geet Govind, which gives you the flavor of Geet Govind, you know, it has the same themes.
Yeah, a lot of has inspired so much. All the medieval poets of Orissa has written, added anecdotes, and some in the dramatic form. Actually, Geeta Govinda is not a drama. There is no dialogue. Whereas many of the work has been composed after that, has dialogue, some prose, and songs. Songs will be there with rag and tala. So that is what Jayadeva has started. And the prose will also be there. So some dialogue will also be there. So the character will be more. In Geeta Govinda, we have only Saki, Radha, and Krishna. But in the imitation and the post work which came out, the characters also more Sakis were there, more than one. The Krishna also will have friends. And so the dramatic aspect also will. Here is more the emotional aspect in the Geeta Govinda, which Jayadeva has been able, and all the different state of mind of the heroine, of the Naika, are there. So it has inspired a lot. And the Gotipua, which is another thread which has been important for the revival of the Odissi dance, the boys dressed as girls who are dancing also in the other boat on the Chandan Jatra. There were two boats, one is white and one is red. So the boys, Akadapila or Gotipua, were dancing in the red boat. So they were, and also the Mahari were singing the Oriya songs there. So the Oriya songs of the Vaishnava period from the 15th century onward, they became part also of the ritual of Lord Jagannath. But in the temple, inside the temple, only Geeta Govinda.
So it's really remarkable how every aspect of Odia life is touched by this. It had a great theatre movement. And in the theatre movement were born many leaders of the form, including Ileana's own guru.
Yeah, all the pioneers of the revival of this dance, actually, they come from Ras Leela and theatre. There was no dance separated as a form, but dance was included in the drama of the beginning of the last century, 30s and 50s of the last century. And after that, after independence, it started to become a performing art on its own. So become the Odissi dance.
So it's interesting that it was in this Ras Leela theatre troupes of Odisha that not only did Guru Kelucharan Mohapatra dance, but also he found his wife, Lakshmi Priya, as the first woman who danced Geeta Govinda from a non-Mahari background.
Yeah, not Geeta Govinda, but who dance on stage, not being from the Mahari background. And people discovered that there was a dance which was not only the Gotipua or the Mahari, but could also be performed by a women, which is not belonging to these categories.
So all these details and many more you find in the book, which I understand is available at the bookshop here, along with the other books that Ileana has written, which I referred to, where the making of a guru, which is the biography of a guru, is really a path-breaking work and an inspiration for all of us who try and write biographies about great people in the arts. To have an inside view, to have done the research of archives, epigraphic research, to have done research of the Madala Panji, which is the temple records, which describes so many things. All of this has gone into put together this book. I hope you will pick it up. Ileana will be available for some signings in case you do at the bookshop. Is it? Okay, if you've got your book, she can sign it right away, otherwise at the bookshop. So thank you, Ileana, for sharing your interesting life and how you wrote this book with all of us. Thank you all for joining in. I'm sorry we've run out of time now, so we can't take up any questions. And for the magnificent dancing, a special round of applause.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Arshiya. Thank you.
Thank you, Arshiya Sethi, for doing my job. She has told you, get your book signed. But thank you, Ileana Citaristi and Arshiya Sethi ji, one more time for this beautiful session and lovely performance. Thank you.